Power is not noise. It is not anger. It is not chaos masquerading as strength. True power is the man who remains still when struck, calm when tested, and silent when mocked. He is not apathetic. He is not numb. He is simply beyond the reach of the herd. While the world convulses in search of attention, he sits untouched, a mountain in the storm. The weak scream to be noticed, bleed to be pitied, argue to be right. He does none of that. He watches. He waits. He calculates. His indifference is not a lack of emotion. It is the supremacy of will over emotion. While others are mastered by what they feel, he commands what he becomes. And so the crowd fears him. Because what they cannot move, they cannot manipulate. And what they cannot manipulate, they cannot control. Let that be your first law. The man who cannot be moved cannot be ruled. You will see them crumble over words, burn with rage over gossip, collapse under the weight of mere opinions. They are not men. They are leaves in the wind. You will not be one of them. You will walk with silence as your armor, stillness as your weapon, and detachment as your throne. And when they try to provoke you, to drag you down, to feed on your reaction, give them nothing. Let your stillness humiliate them. Let your calm unravel their masks. Because nothing shatters an enemy more than realizing he cannot reach you. And nothing commands a room more than the one who doesn't need to speak. This is the discipline of kings, the indifference of rulers. And if you claim it, you will rise above every insult, every betrayal, every petty war that devours the herd. Most men are puppets of their own reactions. They believe they are strong, yet a single insult reveals the strings. Someone mocks them. They explode. Someone disagrees. They argue for hours. A moment of disrespect, and they spend weeks plotting revenge. What kind of strength is that? It is weakness in costume, pride in shackles. A man ruled by emotion is a man ruled by others. Because the world knows exactly how to pull his strings. The truth they avoid is brutal. No one makes you react. Your reaction is a choice. Always. And each time you choose to react without thought, without control, you declare to the world, I am yours. Take my peace, take my clarity, take my power. And they will, so choose. Choose stillness, choose silence. Let the attack arrive, and do not dance for it. Let the insult land, and smile faintly. Let them wait for your explosion, and give them the void. That is when fear sets in. Because the herd cannot comprehend a man who does not flinch. They cannot understand someone who hears their noise and remains unmoved. That silence becomes power. That restraint becomes legend. The ones who laughed begin to question their victory. The ones who struck begin to fear the consequence. Because a man who does not react is not passive. He is calculating. And when he finally moves, it is with precision, devastation, and absolute control. The strong man does not rage. He watches, he decides, and in that pause, he becomes untouchable. The greatest fools are not those who are betrayed, but those who expect loyalty as if it were a law of nature. I would never have done that, they say, as if their personal code is some universal contract. It is not. Loyalty is not owed. Respect is not guaranteed. People act in their own interest, their own fear, their own hunger. To expect them to mirror your values is the first mistake of the weak. The storm does not care about your umbrella. The wolf does not care about your kindness. So why should men care about your morality? Machiavelli warned long ago, men are selfish. They act for advantage. Expecting anything else is not virtue, it is delusion. And delusion will cost you everything. You must see the world not as it should be, but as it is. Stop expecting loyalty, and betrayal will never surprise you. Stop demanding fairness, and you will never be paralyzed by injustice. Stop imagining others as copies of yourself, and you will stop being wounded by their difference. The strong man does not curse the rain. He builds a roof. He does not weep when allies fail. He counted on it already. And when someone shows loyalty, he receives it as fortune, not entitlement. That is how you remain unbroken, by refusing to be shocked. When you expect betrayal, every act of loyalty becomes a gift. And when you discard the illusion that others will behave like you reclaim a power far greater than trust. You gain foresight, And foresight is the first weapon of the sovereign man. Weak men worship the need to be right. They fight over opinions like children over toys, loud, petty, desperate. Every disagreement is a threat to their fragile ego. They argue not to illuminate, but to dominate. And in doing so, they reveal their deepest insecurity, the fear of being wrong. But truth does not scream. It does not need to prove itself. It simply is. The man who must constantly assert his correctness is not strong, he is unstable. Because power does not argue, power acts. And in acting, it renders all debate irrelevant. Results are louder than righteousness. Silence is stronger than shouting. Let others waste their breath in circles. You will move forward like a blade. Imagine two men in conflict. One shouts, the other shrugs. One debates, the other decides. Who truly owns the moment? Not the one tangled in noise, but the one untouched by it. Let them believe they've won the argument. Let them bask in their illusion of superiority. Meanwhile, you advance, quietly, ruthlessly, until reality bends to your path. That is the game Machiavelli understood. Arguments win nothing. Outcomes win everything. The man who does not need to be right is the man who cannot be baited. He has nothing to prove and so cannot be trapped. While others drown in the vanity of words, you will rule in the silence of certainty. Because your truth does not need applause. It needs only time, and time always reveals the sovereign. The world feeds on your availability. Every yes you give without calculation, every hour you surrender without strategy, is a brick torn from your own fortress. The weak man cannot say no. He believes refusal is cruelty. He believes exhaustion is virtue. So he gives and gives, until there is nothing left but a hollow shell of potential. He tells himself he is being kind. But kindness without boundaries is not nobility. It is suicide. Machiavelli knew. A prince who spends freely weakens his state. So too with you. Your time is your kingdom. Your energy is your army. Waste them, and you will fall without ever being attacked. But the man who sets boundaries of iron becomes something else entirely. He does not flinch when asked for too much. He does not explain, apologize, or soften his refusals. His no is calm, final, impenetrable. At first, they will resent it. They will call him cold, selfish, arrogant. But then, they will respect him. Because deep down, they know the truth. Only a man who values himself dares to protect himself. And in protecting himself, he teaches the world how to treat him. The man with no boundaries is devoured by others. The man with boundaries becomes inviolable. He moves with purpose. He spends energy like a general allocates troops, only where victory is necessary. That man wins not because he gives more, but because he gives wisely. And wisdom, unlike kindness, cannot be exploited. The crowd will try to crown you one day, and stone you the next. Do not mistake their applause for loyalty or their criticism for truth. They shift like wind, cheer like children, and turn on you like wolves the moment you no longer serve their desire. The weak man builds his identity on this unstable ground. He thrives on being liked, needs to be praised, dreads being disliked. He is a slave, not to any one person, but to everyone. He trembles when the crowd turns. He edits his soul to please them, and in doing so, he loses himself completely. But the sovereign man walks a different path. He detaches. He hears their praise and their hatred as noise, useful perhaps, but never defining. He is not cold, he is free. Free from the addiction to approval. Free from the fear of disapproval. He does not seek to be understood. He seeks to be unshakable. Detachment is not indifference to truth. It is indifference to manipulation. You listen, you analyze, you use, but you never absorb. When someone insults you, it reveals more about them than you. Their rage is their confession. Their bitterness is their biography. The strong man smiles, not because he's immune to pain, but because he has learned. Nothing others say can define him unless he consents, and he does not. This creates a power most cannot comprehend. The crowd begins to whisper, he cannot be moved. Enemies grow cautious. Allies grow respectful. The moment you detach from the need for opinion, you gain a terrifying kind of control. The world screams for your reaction, and you give them silence. They beg to shape you, and you remain formless. What they cannot influence, they cannot own. And what they cannot own, they will fear. There is no weapon more underestimated than silence. It is the blade that cuts without being drawn, the wall that cannot be scaled, the answer that deafens louder than any shout. The weak man believes his strength lies in how loudly he can defend himself, how quickly he can reply, how fiercely he can retaliate. But in doing so, he lowers himself. He enters the arena of noise where the herd brawls for scraps of validation. The strong man, however, knows the truth. Silence is strategy. It starves your enemy. It unsettles your critics. It turns every attack into an echo chamber where only the attacker's voice grows shrill and foolish. When you are silent, you leave them wondering, did he not hear? Did he not care? Or is he plotting something worse than words? This is how legends are born, not by shouting, but by restraint. In a room full of noise, the one who does not speak commands attention. His composure becomes unsettling. His calm becomes myth. People begin to project strength onto him, simply because he does not offer weakness. Picture a rival hurling insults in a crowded hall. The weak would bark back. But you, your face is stone, your eyes unmoved. The silence stretches, and suddenly, the insult has no audience, no reply, no power. It decays midair, turning back on its originator. The crowd sees it. Your enemy sees it. And the balance of power shifts, wordlessly. Silence is not the absence of response. It is the presence of dominance. It suggests you are beyond reach, beyond offense, perhaps even beyond emotion. That mystery is more terrifying than rage. Let others burn with noise. You will rule with stillness. Anger is the bait. Every insult, every slight, every betrayal, it is not just an attack, but a test. The world waits to see if you will break, if you will rage, if you will collapse into the chaos they throw at your feet, and most men do. They take the bait gladly. They burn with fury, their faces twisted in prideful torment, believing that wrath is strength. But it is not. Anger is a confession. It reveals your limits. It maps your vulnerabilities. It tells your enemy exactly where to strike next. Machiavelli warned that rulers who cannot control their passions are ruled by others, and the one who controls his reaction owns not just himself, but the battlefield. So how do you, escape the fire? With gratitude. Not the soft, saccharine kind preached by the naive, but a ruthless gratitude, a strategic reframing that weaponizes perception. When the storm hits, the weak curse the clouds, but the strong man says, "Good. Now I can test my foundation." The betrayal arrives. "Good. Now I know who not to trust." The failure stings. "Good. Now I know where to fortify." Gratitude reframes every setback as intelligence, every loss as instruction. And in doing so, it starves your anger, because anger feeds on fixation, on grievance, on imagined injustice. But gratitude disrupts that loop. It reminds you, I still have strength, I still have breath, I still have control, and as long as I have these, I remain dangerous. Gratitude in this light is not peace, it is clarity sharpened into a blade. Criticism is not your enemy, your reaction to it is. Most men, when faced with harsh words, flinch as if struck. They defend, they justify, they sulk, all because they have tied their identity to how others perceive them. One negative comment, and their entire sense of self collapses. They treat words like daggers, when in truth, the blade only cuts if you press it to your own skin. Machiavelli understood that criticism is inevitable. The more power you gain, the louder the whispers become. But power does not silence critics. It renders them irrelevant. The strong man listens, but not to feel. He listens to extract. He dissects the insult like a surgeon. If there's truth in it, he uses it. If there isn't, he discards it without a second thought. Either way, he remains untouched, while his enemies exhaust themselves speaking to a wall. This is the art of transformation. Take the stone they throw and build with it. Let them mock your ambition. It means they see your ascent. Let them question your methods. It means you move in ways they cannot predict. Every word they hurl at you becomes raw material. And while they gossip, you sharpen. While they sneer, you strategize. Criticism becomes a kind of map. It shows you where you are feared, where you are envied, where you are misunderstood, all of which is valuable intelligence. But only if you remain calm enough to collect it. The man who reacts reveals he can be rattled. The man who absorbs and adapts, he becomes a phantom, a force, a legend. He turns every insult into armor. He becomes more than a man. He becomes unassailable. The past is a weight, and weak men love their chains. They cradle grudges, like sacred relics, whispering to themselves about revenge, justice, and closure. But in truth, they are addicts, hooked on old pain, poisoned by memory. They think they hold the grudge, but it is the grudge that holds them. Every day spent reliving betrayal is a day wasted in chains. Machiavelli warned against sentiment and rule. Rage, sorrow, nostalgia. These are luxuries for the powerless. The man who seeks to rise must become brutal in his detachment. He must learn the rarest art of all, letting go, not as mercy, not as forgiveness, but as strategy. The past cannot be conquered, only escaped. Let go of what no longer serves your ascent. That is the rule. The betrayal already happened. Do not let it happen again by carrying it in your mind. The insult was thrown. Why wear it like a medal? The loss occurred. Why turn it into identity? The man who clings is not loyal. He is weak, because to hold on is to be governed by ghosts. But the sovereign man chooses what he carries. If revenge is useful, he takes it cold. If it is not, he moves on like a shadow in the night, unburdened, unhindered, undefeated. His enemies scream into the past. He walks into the future. They are prisoners of moments that are gone. He is free because he decided to be. And freedom, when forged from discipline, becomes the purest form of power. Imagine a man who no longer reacts to provocation, who does not tremble under insult, who does not flinch at betrayal. This man is not cold by nature. He is cold by choice. He has trained his instincts into obedience. His emotions are no longer wild horses dragging him across the mud of impulse. They are weapons, sheathed and sharpened, drawn only when he commands. The herd lives in chaos because they lack command of themselves. A glance, a word, a whisper, and they ignite. But the ruler, the one who has mastered indifference, he does not burn. He calculates, he waits, he watches, and in that waiting, power gathers like a storm behind still eyes. This discipline is not repression, it is redirection. You do not kill the fire, you forge it into shape. Anger becomes strategy, fear becomes foresight, grief becomes wisdom. You do not pretend to feel nothing, you feel deeply, but you choose when and how to act. This terrifies others. For most men cannot imagine strength without spectacle, power without noise. But your silence becomes myth, your calm becomes legend. You will be spoken of in hushed tones. He cannot be rattled, they'll say. He does not flinch. He does not break. And that is the beginning of rule, not over others, but over yourself. From that rule, all other conquests are born. The man who commands his emotions commands his fate. The world will always offer you chains, some made of fear, others of praise. Some forged by enemies, others disguised as friendship. Most men wear them proudly. They call it connection, community, love. But beneath those words lies a deep and subtle slavery. They cannot move unless approved, cannot speak unless accepted, cannot act unless aligned with the tribe. They are not men. They are reflections, shaped, bent, broken by the crowd. But you, if you would be free, you must become the one thing the herd cannot understand: unattached. Not to be loveless, but to be untouchable. Not to reject others, but to no longer need them. This is the root of indifference. Not apathy, but sovereignty. You move not because others push, but because you decide. You speak not to be heard, but to shape the world. You act not to be liked, but to be effective. Detachment is not a retreat, it is a throne. You observe from above, calm, composed, deliberate, and because nothing owns you, not praise, not blame, not allegiance, you become ungovernable. People will hate this. They will call you cruel, arrogant, heartless. Let them. Their insults are chains that no longer bind you. Their praise is perfume that no longer intoxicates. You are free. And that freedom, cold, silent, complete, is the most terrifying force the world will ever know. Most men chase approval like starving dogs chase scraps. They contort themselves for applause, tailor their opinions to the mood of the room, and crumble at the first sign of rejection. They are ruled by perception. Every comment is a verdict. Every silence is a sentence. They live not as themselves, but as shadows cast by others. Machiavelli knew this sickness well. He warned, "The prince who needs love is weak, but the one who wields fear commands obedience." And it begins with one brutal choice: to stop caring what the herd thinks, to detach not from people, but from the need for them. When you are no longer seduced by the spotlight, you become invisible to manipulation. Invisibility is not obscurity. It is control. You reveal only what you choose. You show strength not for admiration, but as a warning. You share kindness, not for praise, but because it suits your strategy. This distance confuses people. They cannot predict you. They cannot read you. And what they cannot read, they fear. Fear is cleaner than love. It demands less. It lasts longer. And fear, when born from respect, not cruelty, is the root of power. The man who walks untouched by public opinion walks like a ghost among the desperate. His silence commands more than their speeches. His calm unsettles more than their rage. In detachment, you do not vanish. You ascend. Silence is the deadliest weapon in the arsenal of power, not because it is empty, but because it is unreadable. When you speak, you reveal. When you explain, you kneel. When you justify, you confess. But when you remain silent, you reveal nothing. And what is hidden is always feared. The average man cannot endure this. He needs to respond. He needs to explain himself. He needs to be understood. But the sovereign man does not bend to that need. He knows. Every word is a move on the chessboard, and the man who speaks less plays deeper. Silence is not absence. It is presence magnified. The less you say, the more others imagine. In the face of insult, stay still. In the midst of chaos, remain composed. The one who shouts first has already lost. He has shown his fear. He has betrayed his instability. But the one who watches in silence, he owns the moment. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Let them invent their own fears. A man who does not react is a man who cannot be predicted. And unpredictability is terror. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must master appearances. Silence is the ultimate appearance of strength. It makes you unreadable. Unreadable means untouchable, and untouchable means feared. When you respond only when you choose, your words fall like judgment. Final, inevitable, irrefutable. Gratitude, in the hands of the weak, is a hymn of surrender. But in the hands of the powerful, it is a blade that cuts through rage. The masses believe anger is strength, raw, righteous, unstoppable. But it is not. Anger is noise. It is fog that clouds your vision and betrays your position. Machiavelli warned that the passionate man is a pawn, easily provoked, easily misled. But gratitude, when forged in steel, becomes an antidote to this blindness. It is not soft. It is not sweet. It is strategic clarity. When you feel the fire rise within you, thank the moment. Not because it is pleasant, but because it has revealed a weakness you can now eliminate. This is the secret. Gratitude is not acceptance. It is domination. You do not say, "Thank you," to surrender. You say it to own the moment. You say it to reframe the insult, the delay, the defeat. Every irritation is a signal. Every betrayal is a map. Every loss is a lesson. The man ruled by anger sees none of this. He burns, he screams, he fails. But the man who thanks the storm gathers information. He adapts, he endures. And while others drown in resentment, he becomes unsinkable. Gratitude is focus sharpened by adversity. It is the refusal to let pain dictate perception. It is the quiet confidence that nothing can unmake you. With this, you become not merely calm, but immortal in discipline. Criticism is a mirror. Most men shatter it in fear of their own reflection. They hear a harsh word and flinch. They are told they are wrong, and they collapse. Their pride is so brittle that a whisper can ruin them. But pride is not strength. It is armor made of paper. Machiavelli understood. The ruler must see beyond praise and blame. He must gather criticism like a general gathers intelligence. Not to weep over it, but to use it. The weak man hears critique and takes it as a verdict. The strong man hears the same and takes it as reconnaissance. If it is false, it reveals envy. If it is true, it reveals an opportunity to fortify. To respond to every critic is to admit you are governed by them. You do not need to silence them, you need to outlast them. Let their words circle like vultures. You will not feed them with reactions. You will feed yourself with resolve. Every insult becomes a brick in your fortress. Every rumor, a warning flare before ambush. Every slander, a sign that you have stepped beyond the line of the average. If no one is criticizing you, you are still invisible. But once the arrows come, you know you've risen above the herd. Do not flinch. Collect their hate. Burn it for fuel. Rule is not given to the untouchable, it is taken by the unshakable. Letting go is the last test of power. Not the power to hold on, but the power to release. Weak men mistake obsession for strength. They grip grudges like blades, slicing themselves with every memory. They say they are planning revenge, but really, they are rotting. Their past owns them. Their enemies live in their heads. Their chains are invisible, but they drag them everywhere. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must be light on his feet, flexible, adaptable. The man who cannot let go becomes a slave to yesterday. He confuses memory with strategy. But revenge delayed becomes decay. It clogs the gears of your will. And no king marches forward shackled to ghosts. Let go. Not for peace, not for forgiveness, but for domination. You do not forget betrayal. You do not ignore the insult. You file it, you study it, you use it, and then you discard it. Because to carry it is to be carried by it. The man who masters detachment moves like a shadow. Lighter, quieter, deadlier. He wastes nothing. Not time, not thought, not emotion. His enemies cannot haunt him. His past cannot shape him. He walks clean through ruins that others built as prisons. And in that walk, untethered, he becomes immortal. He is no longer just a man. He is the embodiment of will, sharpened by indifference, crowned by discipline. He is free, and the free man rules.